Hello, I'm Ray with Ray's Extreme Engines. Today what we're going to do is, but first of all, before we start, if you hit a thumbs up on that like button and also subscribe to my channel, what we're going to do is start how to assemble a small block Chevy engine that you can put together yourself. This is basically an overhaul. All I did was hone the block, polish the crankshaft. I'm going to put new rings. We're using the pistons. Put new bearings. Like I said, this one is just going to be a how-to video. We're going to assemble the complete engine from short block all the way to the long block, to the intake, to the carburetor, distributor, water pump. We're going to also test run it on a test stand. I have a test stand back here. We'll put, once it's assembled, we'll put it on there, and I'll show you that this one will fire up. It'll run just like any other engine. We're going to do the most basic overhaul that you can possibly do. We're going to assemble it the most basic way, the easiest way you can assemble it, without fancy tools. What we're actually going to be using is a plastic gauge. You can go get this at any auto parts store. It's right here. Any auto parts store have this. It's accurate. The key to this is you have to use a brake cleaner. I use brake cleaner to clean the bearings, to make sure there's no oil, nothing on there, no residue, anything on there. That way you can get an accurate setting on it. So, like I said, this is just a basic. Any small block, and every small block is basically the same. The only difference is going to possibly be the torque specs. This is a 2-bolt main. A 4-bolt main, you're going to have different torque specs. Like I said, this one right here, I'm going to go ahead and just take it off. I'm going to take off all the main caps. If you look, the minute you take off your main cap, you'll see an arrow. You see that arrow right here? That arrow faces to the front of the engine. There's also numbers on these. On the main caps that have numbers. If you're not too sure, just grab all the main caps as you take them apart. Just remove them all and keep them in order, just like that. And what I'll do is I'll just move it up here, and I'll just put them on the table, and they'll be here on the table exactly the same way I just took them off the engine. No different. Like I said, we're going to start with the crankshaft. How, and in fact, if you want these videos, it'll be each one be in segments. For instance, we're going to first do the crankshaft, and then we're going to do another segment on how to install the piston rings without a tool, just by hand. You can do them. It's very simple. And then we'll install the rods, the camshaft, the oil pump, timing chain, and so on. We're going to do it in every single step. That way, by the time you're done watching all these videos of every part, you will be able to assemble your own engine. You'll be able to overhaul your own engine and not pay anybody thousands of dollars to do one. Okay? So here we go. I already took off the main bearing caps, and if you look, here's the main bearings. You see there's a hole on the main bearing. This is the main bearing that goes on the block itself. And what I did is I got +1. If you look right here, there'll be a +1. The reason I got a +1 because all I did was polish the crankshaft. I didn't take it to the machine shop to get it turned. It didn't need to get turned. This was a good running engine. All we decided to do is go ahead and take it apart and do this video for you so you can know how to do your own. Like I said, the one with the hole goes on the block, and it basically just goes in like this. You just push down, and that's it. Make sure it's flush on both ends. I've already cleaned all these parts. I already got brake cleaner. I just didn't want to bore you and make this video any longer than it needs to be. Like I said, all I do is get each one. I'll keep going, but make sure it is the one with the hose on it. And make sure your block is clean, dry, and clean, and there's nothing on it. And you just keep doing it. Like I said, make sure you do the bearing with the hole in it. And then we're also going to put your rear main seal. Your rear main seal comes in your gasket set. If you look here, you see the difference? Right there's that lip. Make sure that lip is facing the front of the engine. If not, the reason why, oil comes out and it stops right here. If you put it this way, where it's not stopping anything, that oil is going to come out and you're going to have a major oil leak. I mean a major oil leak. So like I said, make sure you put it just like that. That part facing the front. And you're going to hear some guys say to stagger your gasket. Some will say put the gasket like this and then the other gasket the other way and it'll prevent a leak. No. If you just put it like this, and I'm going to show you a trick to that, so you won't have any leaks in yours. Like I said, we already put the bearings there. These bearings, you see, there's no hole on these bearings, and they're the same. These are +1. So these, all you do is take your 2 bolts off, flip your main cap over, and if you see, there's a little notch there. It's the same thing on your other one. You put that main bearing there, and all you do is push down. That's it. That's it. See? Nice and clean. And you repeat the process for the next one. And you just do every single one the same way. Again, make sure it's flush. Make sure both of them are flush, both sides. That's cap number 2. We're doing cap number 3. Like I said, you don't want to miss any of these videos. Subscribe, hit the like button. There will be other how-to videos. I have some there for the FiTech system. I will have other videos for transmissions, tuning, and if there is any certain videos that you would like to see on how to, just let me know. Send me a message. I'll be more than happy to make that video for you. Now this one might need a little bit persuasion, so you just tap it a little, make sure they're both even, make sure there's no dirt in there, and of course here's the main cap, the last one, the number 5. This goes just like this. If you look, it goes just like that. Okay, remember what I said about the seal. That seal, see it? Don't get confused. It goes just like this. See, just like that. See where the lip is? Reason 4, it goes down. You see that lip? It will prevent oil leaks. Okay? So it goes just like that. Okay? Alright. Now we got the bearings done. Yes, I do wear gloves. I'm going to get the crankshaft, and all you're going to do, I already cleaned the crankshaft as well. I put brake cleaner, wiped the main bearings, the rod bearing areas. We're just going to lay it there softly, and you're going to see. Here's the crank. And all you're going to do is put it down slowly. If you see that I twisted it, I turned it, I mean, the reason I turned it, and make sure it's all the way down flat. There. Did you hear that? It's all the way down flat. I turned it because the crank has hose just like the lower bearings do. They have a hose for the oil to flow through. The reason I moved it, turned it, so you won't have that, because I didn't want the plastic gauge to go in the hole. Okay? So now that you did that, all we're going to do is just take a small tear. We're just going to tear that off. And the plastic gauge is right in here. If I can open this up. Here, let me take another piece because that one's a little. I'm doing like same thing again, taking it off. And there it is. And that's all that is right there. That's it. Now this, you face it the length of the crankshaft. So you just lay it there. And let me get the camera so you can see. See what we're doing. Okay. You see that? That's all it is. You're going to put that down like that. Sorry, there was a lot of movement there. Let me move it now that it's a little crooked, okay? Alright, that's all we did. I put it on the first one, I put it on the middle one, and then I put it on the last one. I get 3. So here we are. The next one. I'm not sure why it's been more difficult this time. It usually isn't this hard. Again, the strip. All you're doing is put it right in the center one. And then the last one. And here's the last one. We're doing in the very back cap, the number 5, yeah. Because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Remember, you don't use any oil, nothing in this. Not right now. Right now you're checking bearing clearances, so you want it as dry as possible. All you do is sit your main cap down. Try to make sure it's flush. And don't hammer it. Don't smack it. And don't let it drop. And when you're putting it down, don't hit the crankshaft at all. Remember, arrow goes forward. The reason why you don't want to hammer it, you don't want to smack it down, is because you don't want to press on that plastic gauge. Then you're going to get a false reading. Again, arrow facing forward. And then your last one, your number 5 cap. Okay. Got my little handy oil. All I'm going to do is put a little bit of oil on the threads and a little bit on top of the main cap where the bolt touches. Like I say, if you got any questions, as we're doing this, if you got any questions, you can just send me a message. I may put my email address on the link there. Put my Facebook page on there as well. It's actually just Race Engines. You can get on my Facebook page. Actually, this video will be posted up there. And then you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can even message me on Facebook. And then we can go, like I said, any certain videos that you would like to see. Exhaust, tuning, engine rebuilding, porting polishing. Even if you want to see some of my engine setups, I've built blowers, blown engines, supercharged, pro-charged, nitrous. If you, like I said, on my YouTube channel, there's, I believe, 40, 50 videos on there. I can give you some of those specs on there if you want to build your own after you learn how to assemble this. Like I said, I'll have some videos of how to use tools, your mics, and so on. If you rather go that route and use those. But like I said, this is just a basic assembly. And okay, here's the deal. You're going to go in the center. So in other words, 1, 2, 3. Using number 3 main cap. All you're doing is hand tightening it now. Some of these are a little bit harder to turn, so you may just use this. But if you notice, this is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to tighten it tight. It may look like it's tight for me right now, but it's not. See, it's just snug. That's all you're doing is snugging it. Then you're going to move up to your number 2 cap. Remember, we did number 3. We're doing number 2 now. The reason why is you want to work from the center out. If not, your crankshaft is going to do this. The last thing you want is that wave, because then you'll be in trouble. Like I said, it's not tight. I'm not tightening it up. It's just a little snug. Now, number 4. I apologize. Number 4 cap. Again, it's not tight. It does look tight. It's just because you'll notice once you start doing it, and it's not tight. See, that's number 4. Now we're working on number 1. Like I said, this is part 1 video. How to install crankshaft, and then, like I said, the next one will be installing piston rings, installing your pistons and rods inside your short block. Oh, and I'm going to do a video how to press your own pistons at home, how to press them off, and how to press them on at home. That way you're not spending more money on a machine shop. And here we are. This one takes 70 foot-pounds for the main bearings. Main caps, 70 foot-pounds. So we're going to do it in 3 increments. I do it at 30, I do it at 50, and then I do it at 70. So the first one is at 30. And again, you start on the center, which is the number 3 cap. See, you just hurt the 30. Remember, it's not a pull either. You want a consistent turn, that way you don't get a false reading. We're going to go to number 2. Going to number 3. Sorry, number 4. I don't know why I keep saying number 3. We're going to 4. Now we're going to 1. Now we're going to 5. That's 30. Now we're going to 50 foot-pounds. That is 50. Number 3 cap. Number 2 cap. Number 4 cap. Number 1 cap. Number 5 cap. Okay. Now we're going to the final one, the 70. Okay, that's 70 foot-pounds. This is your last one. Number 3 cap. Number 2 cap. Okay, that is all of them. And again, you don't want to turn the crankshaft right now. If you do, you'll mess up that plastic gauge. And now I take my breaker bar and we untorque it so we can check the plastic gauge. Again, you start from the center, work your way out. And by all means, if you have a different method of doing it, just leave me a message telling me how the method you do it, the method you prefer. I'll be more happy to look at it and try it out. I'm always willing to learn more. You never know everything, and you will never know everything. Like I said, be careful on this. You don't want to nick the crankshaft by dropping one of your tools. And if you do nick the crankshaft, all you do is get you a 2000 grit sanding paper and you just rub it a little bit soft. I mean, just be soft with it. Don't rub on it real hard like you're trying to take something off. Be real gentle with it. And you'll be able to take that nick. It won't completely come off, but it'll smooth out where your bearings won't be wearing out. Trust me, I've done that before. But now what I do is I use a little trick, and I'll show you when we start assembling the rods. I'll show you the trick I use. And you just pick it straight up. Remember, this is number 1 cap. Just come straight up. Make sure you don't hit your crankshaft. Straight up. There you go. And let me show you what the outcome is. I'm going to take one of these strips. You can either take a small strip. As you can see, it's got your numbers on there. Or you can use this. So remember your number 1 cap. You see what I did? I squashed it. So what you want to do is get your setting and see. It's not number 2 because it didn't wipe it all the way down. Didn't smash it all the way. That's 3. So it is more than 4. It's between 3. So that's your clearance, 3 thousandths, which is great. So, like I said, let me show you on the crank itself. Hope you can see that. See how it's almost 2 thousandths, but not quite. It's about 3 thousandths. Same thing here. Here's the 3 cap. I'm trying to get it. It's not cooperating with me. 3 cap. This one is actually 2 thousandths, so it's very tight. Good bearing clearances there. Like I said, this is just your basic overhaul. Apologize for that. Basic overhaul on. Like I said, this is just your basic assembly. This is not your fancy assembly. I do apologize for that. Here we go. Okay. Now what I do is I take some brake cleaner. I spray it. This is a little crooked, isn't it? I spray my little rag, shop towel, and I just rub it a little bit, and it does come off. You do want to take that plastic gauge all the way off. See, came off. And I just spray another one. I'm going to do that with all of them. I really must have had this real nice and clean, that there was nothing on here for this to stick this much, because it usually doesn't stick this hard, but it did. And again, you got to make sure you take it off of here, just like you take it off of the other one. And as you can see, it will come off. You also want to take off all that lint. If you do have any lint, get your dry part and just wipe it off. It'll come off. See? That's it. Clean bearing. Another thing I use for lube, assembly lube, is I don't use that paste. Reason why I don't like that paste is, if you was to build an engine and have it sit there for a year or so, that paste is going to be extremely hard. You start that engine up, it's going to be dry. Even though you, I know some guys say, well, go ahead and pre-lube it, and you're supposed to get a little drill, stick it in your, where the distributor goes, so you can lube the engine, turn it over and so on. Well, I've seen, from my experience, I mean, maybe somebody else has different experiences. I just dropped the remain seal. It's not a good thing, so I'll have to clean it up. No big deal. See, clean again. The thing is with that type of assembly lube is it doesn't stick like this one does. You can use any type of assembly lube you want. I'm not promoting this one, but you'll see whenever I start using here in a little bit. Alright, now that we did the crankshaft, we already cleaned it up. We torqued it. We saw that the clearances are good. So now that we know the clearance is good, we're going to take the crankshaft off one last time. We're going to put assembly lube on all the bearings. Okay? So here we are. Take it straight up. Okay. And straight up, you make sure all the bearings are still flat. Everything still looks good. There's no dirt, nothing in them. We're good to go. Now we're good to assemble it one last time. And as you can see, that is the assembly lube. Might be a little too dark, but you'll see right here. What I like to do is, I don't like to be stingy with it. I don't mind having more than enough. All I do is, and now you see why I wear gloves. Because if not, this is going to be all over your fingernails, and I'm sorry, but I don't want that all over me. Now that I have it all over the bearing, I'm going to do the same thing to the other bearings. Let's see. How are you doing? Just putting on the bearing. See that? That's all you did. Okay? But now that we did it on the on the bearings, I'm going to put the crankshaft back on. Here we go. Straight down. Don't nick anything. There's no hurry. See? Straight down. Now you can turn it. It's got to be sitting. See? Now you can turn it. We got number 1 cap. It's got lube in it. Remember, arrow faces forward. I'm going to show you how to set the end play on here. This is cap number 2. End play is important. You can use a tool for it. Like I said, what I'm showing you here is the basic assembly of an engine. And your engine is going to run for years. For years. Unless, of course, you're out there drag racing and you overheat it, or several things can happen when you're drag racing. I've spun bearings by drag racing because I was doing burnouts at 6,000 RPMs. Yeah, you shouldn't. Again, remember, arrow faces forward. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure your seal back here is clean, which is this part here. This seal, remember, it always faces the correct way. Well, I clean this part by the crankshaft. What I'm going to do is put a small bead of silicone here, a small bead of silicone here, right across here, and right across here. Reason why you're putting silicone there, when it smashes together, so in other words, you have silicone here and here, but I'm actually putting it down here, okay? I'm not going to put it on here because I don't want it to glob down. I'm putting it down here on the block itself, not on the crankshaft, on the block. But I'm just imitating that this is the block sitting down, so this is what I want. I want to put silicone just like that, and then put the cap right on top. It smashes together, and it dries up. You won't have a leak. I guarantee it, you won't have a leak. But let me put lube on here first. Now, the silicone. Remember what I said? You're putting it on the block by the seal. I kind of got some by the oil pan. Let me wipe that off a little bit. And that's it. Right there. Okay. Now just put this down. That's it. Alright. Now we're going to do the end plate, but remember we're going to hand tighten these first before we even do any torque specs. I know I say hand tighten, but they're still a little tough to turn by hand. So I'm going to use my wrench, my breaker bar. Like I said, this is not, you're not torquing it down. This is just hand tight. In fact, now that you have them down before, you can just tap them, make sure they're flush, and then you can start tying them. Like I said, you're still going to go from center and work your way out. If not, your crank is going to do this, and then you're not going to be able to turn it. You're not going to be able to start putting your rods in. You're going to wonder why everything got difficult on you. And that is why you turn the crank. And I'm going to show you here in a little bit. That's it. You just don't want it tight. Remember, this is not tight. Again, the only reason I'm turning it is because it is a little difficult to turn it by hand without a wrench. All I'm doing is getting the bolt flush to it, and then I'm going to show you how to do your end play on your crankshaft. Set your end play on it. Again, without a tool. This is just basic build. Like I said, stay tuned to see this engine fire up on the test stand. I will fire it up on the test stand. You'll get to hear it. This one has flat top pistons. It's a small block 307. It'll have an RV cam, what they call an RV cam. It's a 420, 443 lift. I'll show you the cam card as we get to it, when we get to it. Okay, that's a little snug. Hammer. Once forward. Once back. Turn the crank. That's your end plate. Very simple. That's the simplest way to set your end plate. I know some of you probably going to say some comments there. If you're going to be negative, please don't comment. If you're going to be positive and try to show me a different way, by all means, I'll be more than happy to. But like I said, we're not using any tools here. Any fancy tools. This is just basic tools you can purchase without getting too expensive and build your own engine. If you don't believe me, I think there's a guy, Steve Morris. He's a great guy. I love watching his videos. He's got some awesome engines that he builds. Pro Charge. He's a specialist in pro charging. That's what he does. That's his specialty. He shows you an end play the same way. I've seen his video for LS engine. That's what he talks about. Now I'm just snugging him before we start doing our torque specs. He's got a great video up there of how engine build of a LS engine. Oh, by the way, I do LS engines as well. Here we go. Remember, the torque specs were 30, 50, and 70. So here we are doing 30. Center, which is number 3 cap, number 2 cap, number 4 cap, number 1 cap, number 5 cap, and now we're doing 50. Number 3 cap, which is a center cap. And remember, smooth. Don't pull on it. If not, you'll get a false reading. Number 4 cat. Number 1. And number 5. Okay. Now we're going to 70. That is 70. Number 3 cat. Number 2 cat. Here's your last one. That's 70. Okay, torque spec. Now, see how your crank turns? If your crank does not turn this easy at this time, then you might have some issues. You might want to look and see what you did wrong. Go back. And that is why it's so important. Which I should have shown you. Say we torque them at 30 foot-pounds, you turn it. Okay? You come back 50 foot-pounds, turn it. Come back 70 foot-pounds, turn it. Reason why, say for instance we did it 30, the first step, and you couldn't turn it. You might have had your caps backwards, or check your wrench, your torque wrench. Make sure it is programmed correctly. It's set correctly. Make sure you didn't put it at 50 or at 100 or something. Simple mistakes. Everybody makes them. Like I said, make sure you turn it, because you might have forgot. You might have forgot that, and you started at number 1. Because I did it when I first did this back in 2001. Here we are in 2020. Wow, yeah, 19 years ago. My first engine, I started this way because nobody taught me, and I went this way. I did a mistake, and I couldn't turn it. And then, of course, I learned from my brother. My brother taught me very well on how to do them. But like I said, this is a basic engine build. That's what we're doing. Simple, basic. Anybody at home can do it with simple tools. Okay? So stay tuned to my other videos. Like I said, subscribe, hit the like button, and watch my other ones. I know this one was a little bit long, but I wanted to go step by step so you actually know it. And like I said, you can always fast forward and whatever else. But like I said, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.